Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So the intro montage of this episode, I was knocking out a couple of smaller projects that I needed to kind of setting the foundation for future things on the SC. One of which was modifying the turbine housing, and I put a Stainless Bros 3-inch male V-band flange on it as opposed to the factory flange. So surprisingly, this Concrete turbine housing actually welded pretty nicely, and I ended up using Inconel nickel filler rod for it, so that way it'll be a little bit more resilient and resistant to the high heat that this housing will endure. The other thing I did was I pulled my old powder coating setup out, and while I certainly will still go to my buddy Ryan at Late Apex for anything that I really truly care about, I managed to lay down a decent coating of satin black onto the engine mount bracket. So I'm pretty happy with that. And my little Eastwood setup and my old beat oven right here did a decent enough job. But those things aside, the number one goal, at least right now, is to get all of the primaries welded for the SC's new header and then begin the final assembly for that. So I have all of the primaries pulled off, the manifold or the header is disassembled, everything's cleaned, and I have my initial start-stop points. You can see those blue marks right where my index finger is. Everything is marked out. So the only thing to do at this point in time is to weld everything together. So I'll need to figure out which primary I'm going to start with, and what I'll normally do is I will pick the least visible primary and weld that first. The reason I do that is I weld so many different materials here that it may take me a little bit to get reacclimated to any particular metal that I'm welding at any point in time. If I do that on the least visible one first, then I can kind of knock the dust and the cobwebs off without doing it in a super high visual traffic area that will end up looking unsightly in the long run. So let me figure out which primary I'm going to start with, and then we can strike an arc and start welding all this stuff together. Another welding session in the books, and the SC's primaries are all welded and ready to go and become part of the finished header. So these all came out pretty decently. I'm not 100% satisfied, but I'm also not dissatisfied. Just kind of the way that it goes whenever you're doing anything that has a bit of an artistic flair to it, or an artistic component to it, I guess. You'll never be 100% satisfied, and I often refer to it as an endless pursuit of an unattainable perfection. But searching and seeking perfection is not why I do this. I just like to try to do better each time that I build a new part. And this header build is one of my nicest pieces to date so far, and it's one of my pieces that I'm most excited about. But all of that being said, the next order of business is to take these 6 individual tubes and to make them part of the finished overall header assembly. After another welding session, the SC's header is all done aside from the wastegate provisioning. So this came out pretty nicely. I'm very happy with it. And I mentioned before that if you noticed the primaries and the collector, that the primaries kind of fit inside. And that's because I upsized the collector by 1/8 of an inch. So these are 1 3/4 inch primaries, 1 7/8 tubing used on the collector. And I did that so in a perfect world, the primaries would sleeve inside of the collector. But even if they don't sleeve completely, you still give yourself kind of a nice receiver for those tubes to fit into, as opposed to trying to set up just a traditional butt weld, and it ends up being a little bit more difficult to get things to fit together very precisely. Beyond that, everything's back purged. I did my silicon bronze trick on the head flange. So I did a base layer of stainless steel wire, and then I came over and did a cap pass with silicon bronze on all of these, just to make them a little bit more flexible, and I think it looks cool as well. So now that this is all welded together, we're missing one crucial component, and that is the wastegate. So without the wastegate, obviously I won't be able to control boost, and this car, it is not a maximum effort car, so I don't need to be running 60, 70 pounds of boost, or whatever that 67, 65 turbo will produce. So we will be putting a wastegate on this, and although I'm going to get out of here for now, it feels like Florida in here, it's so hot and humid. Tomorrow we'll come in and talk about the wastegate. I'll show you guys exactly what I got, and then we can start figuring out the provisioning for it. Today is wastegate day for the SC's new header. So I keep saying wastegate rather than wastegates, so let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. What did I choose? What I have here is the SC's new wastegate. Yes, singular. This is a Gen 5 TurboSmart PowerGate 60mm wastegate with a purple top hat, as kind of purple accents are the theme for this car. So I think the wastegate is going to end up somewhere kind of in this location right here. And I need to do some kind of trick, little jogs, and the actual inlet provision for the wastegate will be kind of interesting. Because I need to be cognizant of this fitting right here for the air conditioning system, as I want to retain AC on this car. So I've gone ahead and I marked out my initial bend where it needs to be cut, and I'll take this section out of it, and what this will be is actually kind of a curved directional wastegate inlet, or inlet for the wastegate provision I should say, that will allow me to both have a good transitional inlet to the wastegate provision as opposed to just coming directly off of the side of the header, and it will also start kicking the wastegate provision backwards so I can make the bends and everything that I need to put the wastegate in the position that I'm after. So this will be kind of strange and different than what I normally do, as this provision is going to come on the inside over here and then wrap around this 90-degree bend that goes up to the turbine inlet, and it'll work that way. So let me make this cut, and then we'll see if I can make this actually happen in reality. And with that, the SC's header is now completed. My buddy Sean and I we just ram-jammed this thing together. And don't mind the world's worst exhaust that's just there temporarily, because we are about to fire this thing up. So you guys will have to wait until next week for that, but we're going to bask in the glory of hopefully beautiful 2JZ noises here in a moment. But before we do that, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. So thank you guys, as always, for coming along on all these different journeys and all these different adventures, with everything that's gone on with the resurrection of the SC so far, and everything that is yet to come, including a new addition to the fleet that we'll go over in probably next week's episode. But it's something I'm really excited about, and I got my dream car. We'll leave it at that for right now. But until then, I'll stop running my mouth, and we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. So as always, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Check out the website for manifolds, for merch, for all things good that way, including my 15th anniversary t-shirts and hoodies, available through the end of this year. And make sure you get them before 2025, as they will be no longer at that point. But with all of that being said, that will be the end of this one, and I will see you guys in the next episode.